You lie down when your body tells you it's ready, not before, not after. There's no mattress beneath you, no walls holding back the night, no door you can lock between yourself and the dark. Just the ground, a dying fire, and the steady breathing of people you trust close enough to touch. For almost all of human history, that wasn't unusual. That was just Tuesday. For roughly 200,000 years, sleep had nothing to do with bedrooms. Strange thought, isn't it? You've probably treated a bed as basic human equipment your entire life, right up there with food and fire. It isn't. The mattress under you tonight is shockingly new. Your body is not. And your body still remembers a version of night that has almost nothing in common with yours, even if you've never once stopped to notice. So how did people actually sleep before pillows, before blankets, before four walls and a lock? Worse than you, better, or just different in ways that quietly explain a lot about how you sleep now. Think about how much engineering goes into your sleep tonight. A mattress shaped around pressure points, a pillow built for your neck, blackout curtains, a thermostat set to one exact number of degrees. None of that is wrong to want, but it can quietly convince you that comfort is something you have to manufacture, something that didn't exist before factories started selling it back to you. That assumption is the part that's wrong. Start with the dirt itself, because in one place it kept a record. In Sibudu Cave on a hillside in South Africa, archaeologist Lynn Wadley and her team found layers of ancient bedding stacked nearly 3 meters deep. Some of those layers were 77,000 years old. People had woven mats from rushes and sedges, soft plant stems bent and bundled together, then deliberately added leaves from a tree called Cryptocarya woodii. Those leaves release a chemical that kills insects on contact. In plain terms, your ancestors built bug spray into their mattress tens of thousands of years before anyone owned a can of repellent, and they didn't do it once. They relayed these mats again and again, generation after generation, on the exact same patch of cave floor. That's not desperate improvisation. That's a sleeping system, refined over deep time. It isn't an isolated find, either. Wadley's team later traced bedding made from grass and ash at Border Cave, not far away, dating back as far as 227,000 years. Same idea, same patience. Two different caves, separated by enormous stretches of time, both telling you the same thing. Humans have been engineering comfort and safety into the ground beneath them since long before anyone thought to lift a bed off the floor. Now widen the lens, because bedding only tells you where people slept. It doesn't tell you how. For that, look at people living today the way most humans lived for most of history. In 2015, sleep researcher Jerome Siegel and his team at UCLA studied 3 groups who still live largely without electricity, clocks, or scheduled bedtimes: the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of the Kalahari, and the Tsimin of Bolivia. The researchers expected to find people sleeping far longer than people in industrialized countries do, free of alarms and deadlines. They didn't. Average sleep across all 3 groups landed around 6.5 hours a night, almost identical to yours. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. None of these groups had a word for insomnia. Not one. Lying awake in the dark wasn't treated as a malfunction to fix. It was simply a normal part of how a night unfolds. How is that possible? Shouldn't sleeplessness feel the same everywhere in every century? Maybe not, because of something historian A. Roger Eckerich uncovered while combing through centuries of European court records, diaries, and medical texts from before the industrial era. He found constant, casual references to a first sleep and a second sleep, with an hour or two of quiet wakefulness sitting in between, used for prayer, conversation, or simply lying there in the dark, undisturbed by worry. This pattern even has a name now: segmented sleep, meaning the night splits into 2 shorter blocks instead of one unbroken stretch. For most of history, waking up in the dark wasn't insomnia. It was just the shape a night naturally took. 3 completely different kinds of evidence, 3 completely different methods, all pointing the same direction. A cave floor in South Africa, a sleep lab study among people without clocks, a pile of forgotten diaries from candlelit Europe. None of these researchers set out looking for the same answer. They found it anyway. So picture an actual night, using all 3 pieces of evidence at once. Light is dropping. Temperature is dropping with it, and that drop matters more than darkness does, because it signals your circadian rhythm, the internal 24-hour clock your body runs on, whether you've ever heard the term or not. Someone banks the fire, stacking it down to steady glow instead of a blaze. Bedding goes onto ground that's been slept on 100 times before. Leaves and grasses still faintly sharp-smelling from whatever was woven in to keep the insects out. Children are tucked toward the center of the group, the warmest and best-guarded spot. Bodies arrange themselves close together, not for comfort alone, but because a sleeping group, as anthropologist Carol Worthman has documented across dozens of small-scale societies, is a watch group. Someone always stirs. Someone always half hears the wrong sound in the dark. There's no door to lock, because the real lock was every other body breathing nearby. Hours in, the fire has dropped to embers. Someone wakes, not from a nightmare, not from anxiety about tomorrow, just awake the way the body expects to be, somewhere in the dark middle of the night. They don't reach for anything to fix it. They don't lie there worrying that something is wrong with them. Maybe they talk quietly with whoever else has stirred. Maybe an older member of the group, the kind of light sleeper every band seems to have, is already half listening to the wind before anyone else notices it changed. Eventually, sleep comes back on its own, the way it always has, with no clock to check and no number attached to how long it took. Here's the twist that should genuinely unsettle you: that midnight waking was never the problem you've been taught it is. It was completely standard. The disorder you're imagining didn't exist yet because the conditions that would turn it into a disorder hadn't been invented. What changed wasn't your biology. What changed was everything built around it. Cheap artificial light pushed bedtime later and later, stretching the day long past the point your ancestors' bodies were built to stay awake for. Factory schedules demanded one uninterrupted block of sleep instead of two, because a shift doesn't care about your circadian rhythm. Private bedrooms replaced shared fires, which meant the person who used to half wake beside you, ready to notice danger, simply isn't there anymore. Even the walls themselves changed what silence means. A shared sleeping space was never truly silent. There was breathing, the occasional shift of weight, the fire settling. A modern bedroom, sealed and soundproofed, can be silent in a way no human ever evolved to interpret as safe. So when you wake at 3 in the morning now, alone in total silence behind a closed door, your very old brain reads that stillness as something worth worrying about. Not because waking up is abnormal, because waking up alone in silence with no one else breathing nearby is the actual anomaly. Your ancestors would have found your bedroom stranger than you'd find their cave. That reframes a lot, doesn't it? The 3 a.m. wake-up you've spent years quietly diagnosing as broken sleep might just be 200,000 years of biology doing exactly what it evolved to do, dropped into a room that no longer has a fire, a group, or a second sleep built around it. The sleep tracker on your wrist, the white noise machine on your nightstand, the melatonin bottle in your medicine cabinet, most of it isn't fixing a broken body. It's quietly trying to recreate, alone and after the fact, what a fire and a few trusted people used to do for free every single night for 200,000 years. You lie down when your body tells you it's ready. Tonight there's no dying fire, no woven bedding laced with insect-repelling leaves, no second sleep waiting quietly in the dark middle of the night, no half-awake elder listening for the wind to change. Just a locked door, a silent room, and a kind of aloneness your ancestors spent 200,000 years making sure no one ever had to feel.